So the last time I stood in front of an audience like this and gave any kind of talk, it was a farewell speech. I was leaving the pastorate, and I didn't know it at the time, but I was actually on my way to leaving the faith that I had grown up with, because I hadn't found that there were any satisfying answers to what for me were really burning questions. Why are we here, and what is the meaning of life? And these are old questions, essential questions, and I couldn't connect my life with a purpose. And so I found my way into the woods in July of 2013 on a 4-day solo fast to either make a breakthrough or give up. And it was on day 3 that I had a spiritual experience that changed me forever. More on that in a moment. When you're there on the lake, you get to know the inhabitants of the lake. When you have nothing else to do, the lack of glucose starts to slow down your brain waves. And I can only describe it as a dreamlike state, but it's a state of high attention, and you notice so much. And one of the things I noticed is that everything waits. The chipmunks wait for the spruce cones to ripen, and the spruce wait for the frost to cleave the rock so their seeds can find soil. And the trout wait for those frenetically copulating dragonflies to lose themselves in ecstasy, and then they drop onto the surface of the water, and the ravens, they sit and they laugh in the trees all day, and they're just waiting for you to die. Now here's the bottom line, is that every organism is utterly dependent on factors it can't control. It has to wait on other organisms. It's dependent on other organisms because evolution can be counted on to do 2 things. One of the things is to create ever increasing diversity, more and more diversity all the time. And it can also be counted on to have that differentiation, that diversity become more interconnected over time. So it's not only that we're becoming more different, but in some ways we're becoming more unified all the time. And we've begun to evoke evolution when we talk about making change in the world, and we say that organizations and institutions need to become more adaptive in principle. We talk about organizations actually learning, and then in order to accomplish this, we ask ourselves what it's going to take to get everyone marching in the same direction. And we often say in systems thinking that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. But what we don't often discuss, because we're asking people to all march in the same direction all the time and do everything in the same way, is that the opposite is often true too. The system is often far less than its parts. So the other day I'm at a party, and I'm with my significant other. It's a holiday party for her work, and we're sitting with her boss, and she announces to her boss that she's looking for a new place to live, and her boss turns to her and says, "I didn't even know you were dating anybody." And I turn and I say, "Honey, you didn't mention me, you didn't mention us, that we're dating, and who did you think I was?" And there's this moment of awkward anxiety between them, and her boss says, in a way of smoothing it over, she says, "Well, you can talk to me about that personal stuff." See, the most significant dysfunction of our modern organizations is that cannot contain in their current form, they can't hold the full richness of human life. We're too creative, we're too spontaneous, we're too diverse for the modern organizational model to deal with. And that last quality, diversity, is the key. Because if we want to align ourselves with the same process that's created abundant life for 3.8 billion years, I want to suggest that we start thinking of how we design systems and organizations to create wild diversity, to create it and support it. Because we know that greater and greater diversity gives rise to greater and greater interdependence. And interdependence is this essential driver of abundance that we see in ecosystems. But it isn't just any kind of diversity that we're after, it's this diversity of purpose. And it isn't just any kind of purpose either. So what is it? What kind of purpose? Well, for me, the winter before I went on my vision quest, I'm walking around Seattle late most nights, and I'm wrestling with these big questions. And I start seeing hummingbirds everywhere, and I started drawing them, I started dreaming them, and we switch offices in the place I'm working that winter, and I see this painting. And I keep getting lost until I realize that this painting of a hummingbird is pointing me down the right hallway to get to my office, so I say to myself, I have to follow the hummingbird. So here I am on my rock, day 3 of my fast. I'm crying out, and I mean it. Tears are streaming down my face. I'm raising my hands toward the vista of the quiet lake, and I'm asking, what's my purpose? Why do I exist? What am I here to do? And I hear an audible voice, and it says, pollinate many flowers. I hear it clear as day. And following on the heels of that voice, a hummingbird, a real hummingbird, appears for a moment above my head and then vanishes into the woods. And instantly my heart and my soul leap up, every part of me saying yes to this invitation, because this is an invitation I've never experienced before. I don't have to fit in anywhere. I can actually pollinate many flowers. I don't have to find one job. I don't have to find one place to be. My purpose is pollination. And that's what purpose is. It's a pattern of being. It's our essence. It's a verb, not an outcome. So there are 2 parts to our current challenge. How do we design ecosystems that create and leverage this diversity of purpose? And following from this question are very essential personal ones. What do I care about? What's essential and intrinsic to me? For me, where does a hummingbird fit? And I think I'm coming close to that answer. So my garden is where people are asking big questions that matter in the 21st century. They're working with essential questions. And in that garden, I live into my purpose by hosting and recording these authentic conversations with change agents and leaders and visionaries that can share, they can share with their audiences. Together, we will explore what is essential to them, what has heart and meaning. That's the story that I want to help them tell. But this idea wouldn't be complete without thinking about it from the level of ecosystem. So I'm creating a container for these agents to learn together, to hang out together. I'm calling this container essential or in essence or something. And I invite anyone who wants to cross-pollinate their essential work and purpose with others to join me as a contributor, lend your voice, lend your writing. Here's the prototype podcast radio show that invites others to explore what's most essentially human in the 21st century. How are we contributing? What are we learning? Where are our frontiers? A diverse conversation about what is essential to us now and what has heart and meaning. Thank you.